Well, I think that in terms of overall progress, we've seen the worst, I believe, and we're moving towards the recovery. It will take some time from now on to really treat all the children and all the people who are still in the hospital or who may still go in the hospital in the next few days or weeks. But we've seen the worst. I think we see the number of cases is declining, and we see also that the overall mortality stabilized as well.
You work in other countries, I believe, close to Samoa, would be Cambodia. Is that correct?
That's
but
correct.
Have you faced any event such as this and the extent and seriousness of what has happened in Samoa?
Yes, in fact, I worked around the world, and also work in the Caribbean, in a place like Barbados, very small country, and as you mentioned, Cambodia and Manila, and also in Europe, in Denmark, and so on. So, yeah, I've seen many places. The extent of problem that we're facing here in Samoa and the speed with which it developed, for such a small country like Samoa, this is my first experience of that sort. Because, of course, I've been through different smaller crises, or not crises on that scale. But this is a crisis which is affecting the whole of Samoa. It's a nationwide crisis. So this is, for me, it's also first time the experience of that sort.
WHO has been working with Samoa health system for quite a long time, UNICEF as well. But how do you see that association when actually the observation is that this could have been prevented?
Mm-hmm. So, in fact, you're right. The country office Samoa established maybe now more than 30 years ago, and we've been present in Samoa since the independence, almost since that. So it's quite a long time now. Of course, our support also was shifting in line with priorities of Samoa, and I think that in the last 50, 60 years there was enormous progress achieved in terms of health in Samoa. People live longer, happily. I mean, nowadays, of course, there is what we call NCDs, non-communicable diseases, which are a big problem. I mean, at the moment they kind of become a little background, but we're still struggling with NCDs, and they're with us to stay. But I should say that lots of energy, lots of investment, expertise went into Samoa health system from WHO to build the capacity. Speaking of this particular crisis, as you mentioned, could have been prevented. Well, we know that vaccines are a very effective instrument to save lives. As you know, this is not new for the WHO in Samoa to advocate anyway, every time you ask us that vaccines are safe, that they lifted countries out of this unnecessary disease. And in fact, Samoa as well was enjoying, free status of measles. But once you just relax a little bit, if you allow the immunization rates drop and what we call immunity gap increase, the country becomes susceptible. Particularly some groups within the population become susceptible to this disease like measles. And this is what unfortunately happened in Samoa. It's not new for you that last year we have what we call adverse events, 2 deaths in Safoto Hospital, which put the MMR vaccine on suspension for the time of investigation. So that means that during that period of time, no kids were vaccinated, which was supposed to be vaccinated. And they immediately created that gap, immunity gap. And I think this is one of the big factors which led to the crisis that we're facing now.
61 of the 71 deaths so far are children below 4 years old. So, looking from outside looking in, would it be fair to say that those 4-year-olds should have been vaccinated 4 years ago rather than last year when the incident happened at Savannah?
So the immunization follows the routine schedule, I would say, that the first shot is given at 12 months. This is a routine immunization, and the second shot to confirm, to make sure that immunity level will be building up to the necessary level at 15 months. So normally, under normal circumstances, no kids are vaccinated from birth to 12 months. After that, it's important to do these shots at 12 and 15 months. So when we say from 0 to 4, we need to be very specific here because these particular children which were supposed to be vaccinated in that period of time where the vaccine was suspended, that became really big group of children, cohort of children, which is now what we see in terms of attack rate, we call it attack rate of measles. It's more suffering, it's most vulnerable in a sense. And this is, and you see that in the other groups, both attack rate and you see less cases, we see unfortunately some mortality in that groups as well, but completely on a different scale. So that means that in other groups, the immunity gap was much less, and it just affected a few people in another cohort. But in terms of up to 4 months or 4 years old, yes, this is the highest attack rate.
Mm-hmm. So what was WHO's role in that, given that the percentage, especially the low level, 31%, was known quite a few years ago?
Yeah, so up to the 2018, the vaccination rates first were quite high level, then they started dropping, and it was around 67% in 2018, before the incident happened. And of course, once the vaccine itself was suspended, the rate then dropped significantly quickly down. That even at that stage, the coverage was not sufficiently enough. But after the incident, the coverage rate dropped significantly. Mm-hmm. So and that opened up again gates to the crisis. Yeah.
It has always been something to do with health. The saying is, the slogan is, the adage is, prevention is better than cure.
Absolutely.
Now we're looking at the cost of cure. You're going upwards to $40 million US. I think it can go up to 50 million or even more. So how do you see that from the position of the World Health Organization working with the local ministry? And it seems that this has totally failed. The prevention side of it.
So I think at the moment we're really focusing on the recovery and we're trying to get out of the crisis and help the Ministry of Health and the country to really cope with this crisis. And it's true, I really want to acknowledge both efforts of many people in Samoa, Samoans themselves, in one way or another, supporting the effort to get out of the crisis. But also many internationals, and particularly the teams which are coming from around the world and to help Samoa with this crisis. They're working across the system, they're working, many of them in DTM, but also in other places. And that is, as you mentioned, also the effect of on the cost involved. So through that assistance that we start receiving from other countries, there is a lot of assistance come also in kind in terms of financial, and it is a significant one. As you also know, there are government put forward appeal to the international community to collect more money for this. I'm not prepared to talk about the economic impact in a particular number. I think there's more analysis needs to be made. Also, what we still don't know, for 100% is some of the more difficult cases, particularly the kids struggling in ICUs, how long they will be, there, and how long we will need support of international teams as well, and what will be attention on this particular group. Plus, on the top of that, as measles now become a most important, public health intervention, the life does not stop. There is other diseases in Samoa as well. So it's a question of catching up in terms of treating people for other diseases as well. While, of course, measles, we need to finish that agenda.
Undoubtedly, this is a very major event for Samoa, and unfortunately, lives have been lost and people have been affected. Mm-hmm. But looking at the goals of the UN and the World Health Organization, health being one of the the SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals.
Number 3, yes.
So looking at that from that viewpoint, it seems that if you compare Samoa in terms of MMR vaccination to a country like Tonga, 91% coverage, it seems that Samoa has fallen far short behind.
Yeah, I think that, you just highlight the importance of health, and I would just want to touch this. I think health is really I mean, I might be biased as well. I'm a medical professional. I'm a doctor by my first degree, and of course, I'm head of the health organization here in Samoa. So I really want to emphasize health as important. But I think you don't need to convince everyone, any Samoan. Every Samoan knows that health is essential for many things, for the kids to grow, to be capable of working, achieving some goals. It's essential part of us. It's life, right? So this is something that I also want, I emphasize also with the government that, we need to really pay attention to health. And this is linking what we call agenda of health security, which deals with all infectious diseases, not only measles, but across the board, with elements of national security. Because if you have a healthy population, then you have, a healthy society. And healthy society is exactly what we all, aim at. So that is the health. I really want to emphasize this. It's never stop investing in health, because this is important. It's not only about supply side. It's not about hospitals. It's actually about every single person, individual. Yeah, to do enough to look after yourself and really. It's meaning proper eating, it's meaning exercising, it's meaning also having clear mind, because it's also part of your mental health, right? So health is really important. Now you mentioned Tonga situation, yes, because we also, in fact, the number of cases in Tonga is growing still in terms of measles, but the what we call curve, or what I need to speak a simple language, in the sense that if you look at number of cases, they go like a wave. They're not necessarily going like what happened in Samoa, went up and then now shot down. So it's more like a snail or snake, in a sense that it's and it shows that because the population is covered mostly, that it just measles finding in pockets within the society which may be under-immunized, and so you'll see up and down, and so But it's also true, and it's also a big lesson for us all, I think not only Samoa, but across Pacific, in fact globally, that once you have population mostly covered, the immunity gap is very small, then even if measles attacks enter the country, what you will see, the impact will be not the same. You see Tonga and Samoa in that sense. It's very different pattern. I don't necessarily think that Tongan health system is much stronger than Samoa. I mean, I think it's difficult for me to comment because we don't cover Tonga. But it's just a question of really immunity gap and how infection behaves where you have most of the people really protected.
So certainly there have been gaps in the Samoan health system.
Well, Samoan health system, as you know also that we... in Samoa there was a process of merger between MOH and NHS. And I think that process, of course, took some time to materialize. And this is a full merger is it's not yet completed, in the sense it's in the process. And so, of course, this measles outbreak created another dimension to it. But to some extent, again, it's very difficult at this point to say that what is the main reason for the outbreak. But I mean, the incomplete merger is maybe also one of the factors.
Yeah, well, certainly WHO, through the appeal and what's going to be done afterwards and ongoing, you'll be playing a part in this, if we can call it, perhaps a major overhaul of the Samoan health system.
Yeah, I think there is, again, this is, the WHO is an intergovernmental agency, and we will work with the government to support the efforts. And you probably know that there is now the next 10 years plan for the development of health system in Samoa, which was just adopted this year and until 2029. And a lot of health reform effort is spelled out in that package. You also know that World Bank is coming with a sizable portfolio, not only to support immediate measles outbreak, but in fact to invest into the strengthening health system through the focusing on non-communicable diseases, but essentially this is very much linked to the strengthening district hospitals and making sure that healthcare, both prevention, promotion, and treatment, is available closer where people live. I think so. That is obviously that is also very much the WHO strategy globally. You also probably heard about what we call primary health care. 40 years ago in the Alma-Ata, there was a big conference, a lot of commitments. Last year, there was a big conference there as well. The health ministers of that time, Dr. Tuitama, attended the conference and made another commitment on the part of the Samoan government to invest into primary health care. I think this is very essential. And because primary health care is not only about, curative care, it's not about treatment. It's really about public health. It's about hygiene, it's about washing hands, it's about, looking after yourself, it's about how you eat. And so it's really complex exercise, and it's important to build that one to the engage people in the delivery of health for themselves and for their families and for the communities.
From our viewpoint, perhaps one of the elements that we saw as perhaps it needs to be looked into is the issue of public education and awareness. And I think we need to bring in this whole element of people who are against vaccines, the anti-vaccine campaigners. From the viewpoint of WHO and looking at what has happened in Samoa, how do you see this for the health system going into the future?
Yeah, I think I've seen many articles and opinions about that anti-vaxxers did play a huge role. I wouldn't deny that. I would say that definitely there are people who are ideologically not supporting vaccination, both in Samoa, not very few actually, but still, and then most of them actually out there, and they're using the social media to trying to modify or steer Samoan minds in a particular way. That unfortunately took place, and that definitely one of the big factors into what's happening now. But I also had a chance to visit villages, what we call back of the villages in Samoa, to see families which was just welcoming, the vaccinators to come. It was not necessarily that they were saying, oh, no, hiding and running away. In fact, they were saying, please come, this is a village, and they were putting red flags there too. So I've seen quite an acceptance from many people in terms of vaccination. There is recognition that is important. It's just a question of whether the services are available for population which are not necessarily that mobile, and they would welcome it, but they will not necessarily come to it themselves, right? So again, it's in terms of majority. I think majority of Samoan they recognize the importance of vaccinating themselves and the kids and so on. There are of course those elements which are for whatever reason they are. Not that there is. I think it's just we are science. We are evidence-based organization. So if it's proven one day that it works this way, we believe it and we follow it. If of course, science also moving ahead. And recently there was a discovery that measles destroys not only. It's not only bad for the organism. It's in fact also affect immunity of people as well, so kind of wipe off the immunity information and make people susceptible to other infections. And in fact, we're watching this space in Samoa as well, because the next battle may be also just to see maybe more patients coming with other diseases because of their system. If they went through the measles and survived and they are fine, but their immune system might be compromised. So this is making us think. And just maybe the last more point there is that you also talk about education, and I think this is an essential one. And not education only through the Facebook or TV. You really need to go to the ground, to the communities, and have very active campaigns. Maybe also not secret that with WHO and Ministry of Health some time ago, what we call initiated project which called PENFA Samoa, and it shows some promising outcomes, because we were able to bring services close to where people live and advocate for healthy lifestyles, for proper eating, for exercising, to determining some risk factors for NCDs. But this is actually what we need to do more: outreach, to reach out to the families and communities in the field, in communities. I think the role of Ministry of Women and Social and Community Development is also essential in that, because this is a breach.
And finally, Doctor, what has happened in Samoa, I think some people have expressed the opinion that it has really affected the public confidence in the health system from the viewpoint of WHO and as a partner for the health services and delivering Samoa. What do you say to the Samoan public so that to restore that confidence in the health system?
You know, what I will say is not necessarily will restore the confidence because, you know, it's, confidence is like reputation and credibility. It's built over time. It's built over years sometimes. And so it is through strengthening the overall health system and the attention that, you know, every single Samoan and government, of course, in the first place, will put on the importance of health and proper health services for Samoans. So I don't want to sound like we will fix it and people will be confident and so on. I think it's a process. And because health sector and health care and health system is essential part of living, as we just discussed, I think we just need to have absolute attention to the health sector. And what we can reassure the people of Samoa and the government of Samoa that from the WHO, there is no hesitation that we will provide all possible, impossible support and input to build that confidence and to build a proper health services and health system in Samoa.
Thank you so much, Doctor.